It's not often we get a brand new faction in 40k, but today it's time to become a champion of Slaanesh. And I think there's way more in this box that Games Workshop have actually let on. And with a little help, you can get more models out of it. And no, it's not 3D printing this time. So the new Champions of Slaanesh box set comes with a whopping 33 models, including a Lord Exultant, your leader of the box, 20 Infractors or Tormentors, these are the choppy sword guys or the bolter guys, they're the battle line unit of the box, and 12 Noise Marines, 2 units of 6. I want to say a huge thank you to Games Workshop for sending this Champions of Slaanesh box set to have a look at and just generally show off to you guys. But I think we can actually take that number even larger, because 33 models is quite a lot compared to previous FOMO boxes. But honestly, I think we can actually build even more than 20 of the basic Marine kit, especially when everyone thinks it's okay to use 30k models in 40k. The nice thing about this box set is all the kits, or the kits here in there, have like quite a few arm options. Now the problem is all the bodies are going to be the same, so if you buy multiple Lord Exultants, it's going to be the same guy with the spear sticking out, but it's a very nice kit, don't get me wrong. But it's the same with the Infractors / Tormentors, 10 of the same models, just with different arms, which is, I always feel is a bit of a shame, but it's just how things are now, I guess. But the Lord Exultant is a very imposing model, he stands very proud, he's very cool. And then I built 5 Infractors. Now you have an Obsessionist, which is essentially the sergeant of the squad, who comes with this amazing whip that kind of like goes through his legs and stuff. The problem is there's mold lines all the way down the side of it, so I'd recommend using some Tamiya thin plastic cement, which comes with a brush. Because it's thin, you can kind of like wipe most of it away and wipe it over the mold line, rather than trying to get in with a knife and you're potentially damaging your model and just making a mess. By using the brush with not a lot of glue on it, it'll melt the mold line and it'll be way less noticeable for half the time and less of the effort. So when you've built 5 Infractors or Tormentors, whichever one you want to do, I think they're these Infractors. Yes, because you've got 4 of the same sprue, you're actually left with quite a lot of spare parts. I think with a little bit of creativity and some 30k Marines, you can actually make more with some of the spare bits, because the Mark IV armor is very similar to the armor that they're wearing. I think with the spare bits of the Infractors, that kit, and the spare bits from the Noise Marines, once we've built those, I think we might be able to get maybe 10 more. All the arms are spare, and you can like swap the heads around, you can swap the backpacks and alternate between them. I think they look cool. Also, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, because I think nearly 60% of people who watch my videos aren't actually subscribed. So if you like painting videos, you like these types of converting videos, or you like talking about competitive 40k on live streams and watching live games, then subscribe. It'd be really cool. Thanks. So we've got a full unit of 10 Infractors here. There's another 10 to build, but out of these 4 at the front, which I've just finished building, which ones have been converted with Mark IV 30k Marines? I'll let you guess. Leave a comment down below. That's right, every single one. So this one has had a head swap, this one has a new shoulder pad, this one has a new head, and this one is using a backpack and a shoulder pad. By building the sword guys this way, by swapping in a few parts here and there, I'm like banking some shoulder pads, banking some backpacks, etc. So when I do come to building the converted ones, there's like a little bit more to play with rather than just a couple of heads, maybe one shoulder pad, maybe a backpack if I'm lucky. I'm kind of like budgeting the parts that are available, and then when we do build the Infractors and we have to use some of the original heads, the original backpacks, the original shoulder pads, they'll like look more the part because it's shared across the army rather than like an individual unit. That was what I was concerned about. I didn't want them to just look like Mark IV Marines with one different head or whatever, or one different arm. I want them to look cohesive, and the models that are actually come out, whilst they end up being taller, they share a lot of the design philosophy of the Mark IV armor. So by swapping bits in and out, it's like just tying them all together, so when you get the end product, they look the part. Only thing is they do stand a little shorter, so all I'm going to do is all the Infractors are also going to have cork bases, I think, or just be on more like scenic rocks, just a little higher, so they stand more like that. But even then, I mean, it's so minimal, especially with that helmet. It might even just be the pose, to be honest, but they just look a little smaller, which might help sell them to be in a different unit, because I do think the Infractors and the Tormentors are the same unit but different arms. That is the other difference. So
So I think converting them with these is actually going to help to make it easy to tell which one's which.
The Noise Marines are actually like a fantastic kit. They feel really chunky. They feel like a Havoc squad, which is what obviously I think what their design change has been. They're more like a heavy weapons team rather than kind of like a battle line assault team. There's so many bits on their sprue, which is great. And again, by just kind of like mixing everything together, you're going to get that cohesion that we were looking for. And there's actually so many bits spare on the Noise Marine kit. It's actually insane.
So just from the Noise Marine kit, there's 11 heads and 6 shoulder pads spare. And then with the Infractors, we have 7 heads and then we have 8 shoulder pads because obviously we swapped some out already. So we just add that to the pile. We got enough to like kit out a squad. And I'm going to use all the original arms for the bolters as well, just to add the trim aspect, because obviously that's the one thing we are missing. But there's like loads of little gribblies that you can add on that are more futuristic. We've got like the icon of excess that we can add, the leader who took the injector thing, so then you're left with the icon mount, so you can add that on as well. And then the other 5 that you build, because you always see if you build them in 10s, then you've got the whip spare, you've got the injector thing. I think I think we can get quite a lot out of this kit.
So with the Tormentors, I've actually learned which one's which. With the shooter guys, we need to build them up because the Mark IV bodies do stand a little shorter. So I'm using some bits from Goonmaster Games. They're not a sponsor, but they did provide me some STL files a while ago. And then my favorite basing bits, I just printed loads. And then I have them in a box so I can just grab them when I need them. So you can see side by side, they stand a lot taller just so because we want them to be a similar height to the other one so they don't look like 30k Marines in Mark 6. So I've been saying Mark 4 throughout the video. And it's just a case of gluing the arms on. Now some of them you've got like reload poses. Those you can just stick on, no problem. Now the ones where they're holding the guns, like the bolter and the plasma guns and stuff, because the other models are a little bit larger, you've realised there's like a little bit of a gap to glue them together. Now I will say use plastic cement, not super glue for this, but basically glue the arms to the gun, and then when you go up to put it to the model, because the plastic glue has started to set, it'll slightly melt a little bit, which will make it slightly malleable at the joint. But then we can use sprue goo to glue them together and then lightly squeeze the arms so they fit the body while still being attached at the wrist where they're supposed to be. Because sprue glue is a mixture of plastic glue and plastic, it's acting as like a gap filler, so if they do start coming apart again, it'll set with a lump of plastic rather than having to like have full body contact. As long as that mixture is between them, it's kind of acting like a filler and a glue at the same time. We can then take the icon of excess parts that we need for our Tormentor units, and we can shave them down on the inside where they're supposed to like slot into the old backpack. We don't have the old backpacks, we're going to be adding it to a Mark 6 backpack. So we can take our knife and like shave away to make like essentially a piece that can like hook onto the back. So I'm using like my sharp knife, I'm using sanding sponges and stuff like that to just remove the excess plastic. And then I'm removing excess plastic on the Mark 6 backpack, removing the grate bit and just flattening it out on the back. And then again using sprue goo because it's kind of like a filler, because it's going to just get in the way and then just like seep out all over the excess space that we've got underneath. We can glue these together and we can get like a seamless finish, because once it's dried we can carve it again, because it is just glue, it's just plastic as a glue. So if you don't have a 3D printer or you don't have basing bits, you can also build them up with cork tiles. These are very thin cork sheets that are tearable, and what I can do is super glue bits to the base and then tear it away. And when you build it up, you're not only giving it height, but it kind of looks like they're on like rocks and stuff like that. So you can add some dynamic poses by just like putting them on this really cheap cork and give them height at the same time. Just make sure you pin the models to the cork, through the cork and into the base, because if you don't, the chances are that the models will fall off, because obviously cork is really easy to tear, and if you glue it just to the top they'll tear off very easily. So I've pinned mine all the way through so they're actually glued to the plastic base underneath. And once you've got some basing material on, that'll hide a lot of the corkiness of it and make it look a little bit more natural. But you can see next to an actual infractor, they're really starting to like look the part now. They're starting to like really come together. This is the original we built with an icon, and then next to an infractor, he stands the same height, stands really proud, and it looks 40k, it doesn't look 30k. And like I mentioned, I built my Lord Exultant with the Power Fist and Spear, so I'm actually left with the Plasma Pistol and the Rapture Lash. So I'm actually using that on arms from a Mark 6 Marine and making myself another Obsessionist. So I've actually managed to get an extra one out of this box by just thinking ahead and building models in a certain way, having spare bits, being able to get another sergeant, another unit leader from just one kit. I also took one of the original backpacks from the Infractor kit and then stuck on the injector thing on the back just to give it that obsessionist look. It's got the same silhouette as the other one now, but it looks very different, which is actually quite nice in my opinion. And then once you build a few, you've got a whole unit of 5. That's an Infractor squad for, well, not free, but you didn't have to wait for the new kit to come out. You can build it now, today, whenever you get your box. You didn't have to buy another Infractor kit, and you're probably going to be saving a lot of money, because I think 20 Mark 6 Marines is going to be cheaper than 20 Infractors. Or Tormentors. Whatever. That kit.
So I managed to build 7 using one of the Infractor sprues and the Noise Marine bits as well. And I think they've actually come out quite alright. Obviously, like, Lord Exultant parts to build this one, using some spare arms that I had, which I think actually looks really cool. Sadly, I can't make another one of these. But yeah, so he's really cool, really chuffed with him. This guy's my favourite, I think. It's just very subtle, but it's just a guy with a bolter. In terms of, like, height-wise, I think they look pretty good, because obviously I built them up on the cork, but then when you stand them, like, next to a normal one, which has not been changed, obviously they stand quite proud, quite well. They don't look like they're like super small compared. And I think, like, ultimately what I'll do is I'll add like this corking stuff. We can add that to the bases, which will like tie it all together, which would be really cool. And I've still got some like odd bits and bobs on this sprue that I can use to stick onto these to give them more Emperor's Children for 40k, not 30k Marines with Emperor's Children bits. Probably you can see I've built all the Noise Marines. I currently have built all the Infractors. So I'm going to build everything else and see how many we can get. And I will say, the sprue goo is like the go of these conversions, because like it's just so easy to gap fill and like put something on somewhere it's not supposed to fit and not have to go in with like milliput and green stuff afterwards. If you're going to do something like this, like kit bashers and stuff like that, this is like, in my opinion, crucial.
Now, as you can see, when you're going back to using the original Obsessionist Rapture Lash, it can stand too long because obviously these bodies are smaller when we're building the bases up. So what I suggest is kind of like shaving the inside of the arm so you kind of get it to sit at a slightly different angle. And then you can kind of like pose your Obsessionist slightly differently. 7 of the same model, just like look, the silhouette is very similar, it's got the right weapons, but it just looks a little bit different, which makes it a little bit more cooler to paint and just more enjoyable as an army, a little bit more characterful, even if it is just a Marine holding a whip and a gun like the other 6 that you've got. It just stands a little bit differently and it makes it look quite cool. Obviously, be aware of how you're basing them. Be mindful that the whip is in a certain way. Now, you could heat it up and bend it if you really want to. I didn't, but just be mindful of where the whip has to kind of fit. So then you can actually put the whip on later. And then I soon realized that I ran out of the icon add-on thing, the thing that goes on the backpack for the icon of excess. So what I did was, is with the 30k kit with the Mark 6 Marines, I actually took like the Vox thing that they have on their backpacks, and I just shaved the front of it and ended up gluing on one of the Emperor's Children iconographies on the actual icon of excess, but just like a different mount, because you get 2 icons of excess but like different types in each kit. So I ended up just shaving the skull off and replacing it with an Emperor's Children logo, and I actually think it looks really good. I think it looks perfect. It looks exactly like an icon of excess, and they stand the same height, and there's more going on, which is just a little bit cool. I think a little bit cool. And finally, because obviously I've been building up the Tormentors bases with lots of basing bits, all I'm going to go and do is add on similar aspects to the Infractors, the original kit that I've built, and the Noise Marines and the Lord Exultant, again, just to get that cohesion, because it's alright having all of them built on cork to make them taller. They're also going to stand out loads if they're the only ones with cork on their bases and their rocks and stuff like that. So that cohesion, maybe like this, bit of this, come together right now over... I suppose that's what Emperor's Children kind of like, don't they? Over me.
So, I've got the whole box all been built up. I've got the 20 Tormentors. We've got the Lord Exultant, and I've got the 12 Noise Marines, and obviously I've based them all as well, so I've added like bits of like random cork to all of them, some of the 3D printed parts. But just with Mark 4 bodies, I've managed to make up another 15 Infractors, the bolter versions. All of them have Emperor's Children heads, they all have Emperor's Children shoulder pads, and they've all got the original weapons as well, and even some of them have got the original icons. It's just this one that's the main conversion. So I'm super chuffed that I managed to get like 15, like 3 squads of 5 all built up, and I actually have more bolter arms. The only downside is I don't have any more plasma guns or melter guns. Now, they are obviously quite generic. You can get them from pretty much any kit. I could even use Space Marine ones if I really wanted to, but I'm trying to just use Emperor's Children parts so it looks like Emperor's Children. It's not, someone can't go be like, well, that's not an Emperor's Children model. And I'll be like, well, it is, because it's made from Emperor's Children parts. 40 to 50% of the model is all original, but because I've used cork on all of the infractors, because I've had to make them a bit higher, and then I've put similar bits on the rest of the models, they all look the part. I've only built 3 units. This is definitely my favourite Obsessionist, this one, because obviously this one uses the Lord Exultant arms that I've converted. Built 2 units of 10 Tormentors. That's left me with like 2 spare Obsessionist parts. It's left me with 2 icon spare, because you can only have one icon per 10 no matter what. But with the 3rd unit, it's so minor, but like I couldn't put on like the little thing on the top of the backpack, you know, like the little injector thing, which is kind of like, again, minor, but you know, it's only going to be noticing, but it's like, and I don't have any more Obsessionist parts. For each squad of 10, if you built a squad of 10, you can actually take another melt or another plasma. So I could build them out into units of 10. I don't know what the meta is, because I don't even know how many points these units are. so I've turned this box from 33 to 48 models using Mark IV bodies. Gizwitch would be so mad at me. I'm an idiot. I just found another plasma and melter gun on here. So I can actually build 1 unit of 10 and then 2 units of 5. So I can actually build 20. Oh my god. Oh god, that's actually so many more models. I don't think I'm going to be able to paint them all for one video. And I've even still got like a bunch of heads and, well, shoulder pads probably won't get used now, but like I've got a bunch of head spare and like some other bits and bobs from the kit. But like Terminator heads and Terminator bits, I can like, look at it. There's so many models. I can't believe, it sounds dumb. I know I've obviously added 20 Mark IV, which is obviously not like, they're not free, don't get me wrong, but like, it's just all of this from one box, and these look the part. They're not just Marines. Stoked.
So there you go, that's how I took 33 model FOMO army box into a 53 model FOMO army box. And you might notice the big pile of stuff behind me. This is actually part of a larger painting video, but the painting video isn't done, and I thought this like section was like quite an interesting section that I didn't want to like gloss over in the main video. Hopefully, if you like this one, when I go and make the painting video for that, you'd like that too, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and like the video. That would also be really sick, mate. It'd be really cool. This video has been powered by the Outpost. If you're planning on any conversions or you're looking for a new way to paint your models, then you can use my link in the description to grab yourself some discount Warhammer, and also grab some of the best primers in the world, because I'm also sponsored by The Colour Forge, as you might know. Use my link, get your discount Warhammer, and also help me out at the same time. So I won't keep you. Subscribe if you haven't already for the next video for about Emperor's Children. If you like sort of Warhammer stuff, that'd be cool, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye. Thanks to my members. Bye. Appreciate you, members. Mwah.